As we're learning to restore our flow of breathing, and as we learn how to measure and quantify where our breath is at, right? How much carbon dioxide we've got in our system, and really the ability of our body to take a natural, smooth, full rhythm of breath with it throughout the day and throughout life, we use the baseline score. And I'd love to show you a little bit more of a visual of what healthy breathing actually looks like. Now, the beautiful thing about healthy breathing is Lao Tzu said it about 2,000 years ago. He wrote in the Tao Te Ching, "The perfect man breathes as if he is not breathing at all." And I have not been about many perfect men, let alone many perfect breathers in my life. But I've seen one or two, right? And what I've noticed is the beauty of it is that you would never even notice that they breathe, okay? It's as if they are not breathing at all. And the beauty of that is that healthy breathing really is able to regulate itself effectively throughout life and also bounce back from stressful events without any issues. So a healthy breathing pattern, or really a normal breathing pattern, looks something like this. There's a very gentle inhale that happens, and there's a slow, steady exhale. And generally the inhale is about 40% of the breath cycle, and the exhale is about 60%. Then there's a natural pause that occurs. And this is the beauty, because learning to breathe well is all about learning to live in the space in between the breaths. Okay, allow that natural pause to happen, which is where your heart rate beats the slowest. It's where the whole body is in balance. And then the natural breath will just happen, ever so gentle, ever so slight, and a little bit of a longer exhalation with a pause at the end. Okay, about 12 breaths per minute, 8 to 12. About 6 liters of air is being moved through the lungs, okay, with this breathing rhythm. And what we see is that when people reach a baseline score of about 40 seconds, that's when their breathing naturally falls into this rhythm. In other words, when they work on their chemistry, right, when they balance the biochemistry of the body back to normal, right, they stop over breathing and they start bringing their breathing rate back to a healthy, natural rate. This rhythm will naturally start to follow and take place. Okay, so if you look at a full volume of lungs, which is about 6 liters, generally people will breathe between about 2.4 liters and 2.9 liters. It's about 500 milliliters of air that they take in, and then the breath out happens nice and gentle. So that bottom compartment and the top compartment of the lungs is not employed, and it doesn't need to be. Okay, 6 liters per minute. Okay. 500 milliliters in a breath, which is called the tidal volume, and about 12 breaths per minute, okay? And what we're looking for is that, again, that baseline score of about 40 seconds. Now, a little bit more on the baseline score. One of the reasons why we love this technique so much is because we have so much data on it. And this is actually compiled from different research about what people's baseline score is when they are faced with certain conditions, okay? So it was shown that people with hypertension have an average baseline score of about 12, which is quite low. People with class 1 heart disease sit about 16, whereas people with class 2 and 3 heart disease sit closer towards 13. So we see it decreasing as the disease further degenerates. And severe heart disease, they're sitting at about 5. Okay, their breathing is so stressed and strenuous. People with asthma that actually suffer from the symptoms, about 11. People with asthma, generally about 14. People that have no symptoms of asthma, around 20. And this is also what we see consistently with people that have asthma. As we start to work on their breathing, as that baseline score increases, they won't need to use their medication anymore, and their symptoms will fade into the background. And the magical point is somewhere at about 25 seconds. Okay. And people with panic disorder, always imbalanced breathing as well, generally about a baseline score of 11. Then COPD and heavy smokers, and the list was actually much bigger when I first found it. There's a lot of data on this. And then what's also quite fun is that to look back into history a little bit, and of course this comes from Dr. Konstantin Buitiko, who was from Russia or Ukraine actually. And he was very, very interested in using the baseline score with people, and he's actually the originator of this exercise, and he called it the control pause. Now, not only did he work out how to get people's breathing back to normal, right, and how to get people off asthma medication, not suffering from symptoms of hypertension anymore, and just overall better health. He actually documented that his breathing techniques, which was all about breathing less, right, and learning to sort of use things like the baseline score, could help 126 different conditions, okay, between the 1960s and the 2000s in Russia. He was also interested in the super breathers, and I find this quite fascinating to think about and to look at. But he worked out that not only can you bring your breathing back to baseline, which is having that score at about 25 seconds or so, you can actually go way beyond, right? So you can create this like amazing tolerance to carbon dioxide and have a high amount of it flowing through your system, which will bring your whole body into balance. And some of the things that he noted with those people is that their energy level when they were sitting at a baseline score of below 25, 30 seconds was low. Whereas when they went up to 50 seconds, which is quite high, they started having high amounts of energy consistently. The desire to exercise would go from not strong, but possible if forced, to craving and even finding like this need, this joy in exercising, right? Whereas they could then also start quite easy and effortlessly breathing through their nose during intense exercise. And the typical state of mind would go from confusion, anxiety, depression to focus, concentration, and clarity, right? Whereas the craving for sugar and junk foods would disappear. And the addictions would also fade away. And another interesting thing is that they would start having this desire to eat raw foods, right? Which just came naturally to them. So interesting. Also the posture would naturally start to stabilize and sleep would improve. And he actually found that they didn't need as much sleep when they had a really high baseline score. So not only can we restore the natural flow, which we'll do over the next couple of weeks, we can also keep pushing, and who knows, the ceiling of human potential has certainly not been reached yet. And how exciting is that?